Life Audio.
Welcome to the Team Us podcast, where we share how grace, commitment, and cooperation can help couples live the everyday moments of marriage together. Hey, everybody. We are Ted
and Ashley Slater. Mike and Kate Battistelli are back on the podcast to give us practical wisdom on why preparing for the empty nest starts while the nest is still full. If you don't know Mike and Kate yet, keep listening because you're going to love them. So, Ted.
Yes, my dear.
We had Mike and Kate Battistelli on the podcast last fall to talk about dreaming together.
They were great.
Yeah.
Love them.
For those of you listening, it's episode 51, if you want to check it out. Mm-hmm. It's a great interview.
There's also an area 51. Don't confuse the two. This is the podcast 51.
Yes, episode, not area.
Yeah.
Yes. So,
go ahead.
We're going to talk to them about the empty nest.
Yes.
And we don't have an empty nest yet, like our youngest is 14. But our oldest daughter did turn 21 recently and graduated with AA from college. Mm-hmm. And she's been living at home while she's been pursuing that. So
it's inevitable. It's going to be any time.
Right.
Within a year or two.
Yeah. And as I was thinking about graduation season, and sitting at graduation, I was reminded how you and I have spent the last couple of years starting to prepare our hearts for when that empty nest does come.
Yeah, definitely.
Yeah. I think we've always had that philosophy that our kids are arrows.
Absolutely. The Bible speaks of kids as arrows that are shot out of obviously a bow. They're arrows in a quiver of arrows. So
right.
The thought is they're not meant to stay in the quiver. They're meant to be shot out at some point.
Exactly. It's Psalm 127:4.
You came prepared.
Yes. Which says,
Very
like
nice.
Arrows in the hand of a warrior are children born in one's youth. Right.
I was going to say something about our kids not being born in my youth, but I get it.
Yeah, relatively speaking, if you compared yourself to someone in their 80s, you're young.
Yeah, I'm younger than Abraham.
You were what, 38?
Something like that.
Maybe 38 when Olivia was born? So yeah, arrows are meant to be shot. They're not effective if they're left in the quiver, right?
Right.
So our kids aren't ours to keep safe at home forever. It's our job to nurture, teach, guide, and advise them as they grow so that they're equipped to be independent, capable, and strong adults who hopefully also love and follow Jesus.
Absolutely. That's our priority.
But I think a mistake a lot of couples who are parents make is not preparing our hearts or our marriage for what life will be like when those arrows do fly.
That's really tricky, too. I mean, it's a really emotional time, not having your person around. So, yeah, it's necessary. Good to prepare for that.
Right. And it turns out that Mike and Kate are included in those couples who didn't prepare for the empty nest beforehand. Mm-hmm. However, they have been on the other side of it for years now and are sharing what they've learned. Mm-hmm. Okay, so those of you listening, if you don't already know Mike and Kate, here's a little bit about them. When they first met, Mike and Kate were active professionals in the NYC music and Broadway theater world. Mike as a professional trumpet player and musical director-conductor on staff at Radio City Music Hall. It's pretty impressive.
Very impressive.
And Kate as a television and Broadway theater actress and Yul Brynner's leading lady in The King and I for more than 1,000 performances over 3 years.
That is wild.
Right. It's fun. If you're listening,
really is fun.
Go look at Kate's website because there are some pictures from when she was in The King and I. Well, today, Mike is currently a realtor in the Nashville area, and Kate is the author of the books Growing Great Kids, The God Dare, and her newest, The After Party of the Empty Nest. She's also a speaker and a podcaster. And they have been married 41 years, are the parents of Grammy and Dove Award-winning singer and songwriter and contemporary Christian recording artist Francesca Battistelli, and grandparents to 7 grandkids.
And if you're wondering about the term the after party that's included in the title of the latest book, I do ask about that because I wasn't sure what that meant.
Yeah, and it's a really interesting answer.
Really is.
Very, very thoughtful and yeah. Okay, well, after a short break, we'll jump into our interview with Mike and Kate Battistelli on how to prepare our hearts and marriage for the empty nest.
At Thrivent, planning your finances is bigger than money. It's a way to support the people, causes, and community you love. Because helping you put your faith into action is at the heart of what we do. Thrivent, where money means more. Connect with us at Thrivent.com.
Have you ever wondered, is the Bible true? For 3 millennia, seekers of all kinds have asked this timeless question. Now best-selling author, entrepreneur, and philanthropist Mark Gerson offers a unique answer through social science. In his groundbreaking new book, Gerson reveals the 21st century social scientists are asking the same questions that the Bible has been answering for centuries. And his conclusion? The Bible is true. Absolutely, comprehensively, and enthusiastically true. Through this monumental work, Gerson connects biblical wisdom with practical modern issues covering topics like how to choose a spouse, building a happy marriage, raising confident children, overcoming adversity and fear, succeeding in business, and much more. And the best part? All author proceeds benefit African Mission Healthcare, a nonprofit Mark co-founded, bringing life-saving care to millions through Christian missionary physicians in Africa. Order your copy today at www.godwasright.com.
So Mike and Kate, we are so excited to have you back on the Team Us podcast.
We're excited to be here.
Thanks for having us. Well, in fact, we must not have really stepped in it too badly last time if you had us back, right?
No, you guys were great. We were like, we have to talk to them again. So, Kate, your newest book is The After Party of the Empty Nest. So what inspired you to write it? And can you both share how you navigated an empty nest after your daughter moved out?
Yeah, I mean, when our daughter moved out, I just was sitting there kind of going, okay, what now? Because I'd never planned about it. I really never thought about it. You know, we were working with her to help her navigate the whole Christian music, all that stuff that was happening in Nashville. And we were really busy with all that. So I didn't have time to concentrate on anything else. So I really never planned for it. I didn't think about it until all of a sudden she's gone. I was like, oh, okay, it's really quiet. And I have no clue what to do now, which is not uncommon. A lot of moms, their identity is so wrapped up in being mom that all of a sudden their kids are gone and they're just sitting there in an empty house with no noise and just going, I have no clue what's next. And I really didn't.
And I think what exacerbated the challenge was that we only had the one. If we had had 3 or 4, we got married, wanted 5 kids. God gave us one. And, so your entire focus, I was working, but I worked from home, so I was participating, but Kate really took the lead on homeschooling. And now when it came to the music stuff, I was roadie and I was the driver and I was the booking manager and did it all. And so that ended. It was kind of interesting. She got signed and moved away, and it's like, oh, well, that was interesting.
Yeah, she had to have the pros doing it. But I always say we had no backup siblings. Right. You know, there wasn't, it's still not easy. If they're leaving one by one, there's still that empty place at the table. And there is still it's not going to be as hard as when they're suddenly all gone. That's different. Or if, like us, you only have one or two. Mm-hmm. It's tough because you're just suddenly thrust into it. And I like to say, you know, we didn't choose this. We were drafted. You know, we didn't get to say, I'm going to go be an empty nest mom. It's like, oh, shoot, I'm an empty nest mom. Now what?
So short answer is we didn't plan it. We had no plans. So we just we had to wing it when the house got quieter. Yeah.
Yeah. Well, and most of our listeners do not have empty nests yet. They're probably looking at it in the next 5 to 10 years. Like we have 4. Our oldest 2 are in college, but they're still living at home. But, you know, before we know it, you know, we're going to find ourselves with an empty nest. Yeah. So why is it important to start preparing our hearts and our marriages now for the coming season? Like, what do you wish you would have known to do before you had an empty nest?
Yeah, I think I would have just planned better and thought about it and really pressed into what it is that God might have. But in my case, and it's not uncommon, God had something so out of the blue that I really couldn't have planned for it because I didn't ever plan to be a writer or speaker, any of that. It just never occurred to me. You know, as a mom, that was who I was, that identity. But you need to start planning now as best you can, especially investing in your marriage, because he was there before, he's going to still be there after. And it's kind of frightening that there's this whole new phenomenon called gray divorce. It's when couples, the kids are gone, and all of a sudden they're looking at each other going, I don't even know who you are, and I don't even know if I like you. You know, so they get divorced. It's growing rapidly and it's very scary. So, you know, you don't plan for retirement when you're retired, right? You plan for it years before. And it's the same with the empty nest. With your marriage, you have to be taking that time, model a strong marriage to your kids, take time together, go on date nights. I have a whole thing in the book on date nights, really simple, but I think creative things that parents can do that don't cost a lot of money. So take that time. And for moms that are thinking about, oh gosh, what's going to be my next chapter? Maybe there's something that you've loved to do before you were married and you thought, man, if ever I'm, have time in my life, I'm going to start a business, go back to college, whatever that is. Well, you can take small steps now. You maybe can't do the whole thing, but say you want to start a small business. Well, volunteer to help somebody who's got a small business to start learning. Or you want to go back to college. Well, you can take a class one at a time on YouTube. You don't have to do it all at once. I like to tell moms, work in those margins of the day, that hour where you've got something you're waiting at ballet class or baseball practice. Take that time to start pressing in now. So because even if you do an hour a day at the end of the year, that's a lot of hours, because we might think, well, it's not going to make any difference. It really will. You'll be that much further ahead.
Parents whose parenting I've admired, that we've admired, we know friends and they've got kids, and we emulate and try to model ourselves, try to be good parents, which necessitates focusing on your kids. And when you have multiples like you did, we only had the one, and we were running all over the place. With 3 or 4 or more, we watch our daughter now with 7. They're homeschooling, they're homesteading, and she's still working and writing and recording and traveling. It's natural to be so focused on the children. So it has to be intentional to begin to plan, to not just when it's done, oh gosh, I better resurrect those dreams and goals and desires that I had that we put aside during the time we parented our children. So keeping into it, keeping your fingers on it and praying through it.
Yeah, as best you can. And if you're like me, who really, it came out of the blue, being open to what the Lord is doing, being open to taking a risk, to getting out of your comfort zone. We all talk about it, but it's a real thing. It's a real place that we can park ourselves. We can get stuck. A lot of moms, they get stuck in that sorrow and that sadness and that mournful and self-pity after a while. And I've talked to moms that say, yeah, it's been 3 years and I just can't seem to get out. I'm like, 3 years, honey, you need to get moving, because you've got probably, when your kids are gone, you've got a good 40 years, right? So there's a whole other side to this, a whole other chapter for your life. And I've been talking about this a lot, that God saved us till the end. We could have been born in 1850, or 200s, whatever. But God said, no, I want you on this planet now, when we're getting very close to the end.
For such a time as
this. And that's an honor.
It
so
is.
What are we doing? Moms that are listening or, thinking about the empty nest is coming up. What are you going to do to build the kingdom? Aside from raising your kids, you're building the kingdom every day. But after that, what's your second act? The second act is always the best part of the play. So what are you going to do in that time to just bring all that together? And see what God has. And it does take prayer. For me, I was just like, I was clueless until the Lord.
So the second act usually occurs after a little pause. In theater, we call it the intermission. You get some snacks. So I like the snack part of the intermission too. But yeah, act 2. And as you get older, you get more in touch with your mortality. And if you're going to leave a mark or a legacy, which really are our children, but what else am I going to impact? What in my time here, what does God have for me? What's my purpose? What's my destiny? How can I make a positive impact?
Yeah.
But I do like the snacks part of that, the intermission part.
So I found the title of your latest book pretty intriguing. Why did you include the term after party? Because I've gone to parties. I've never been to an after party. I don't know what it is.
You were a theater geek. So we always do an after party after the production ends, right?
Yeah, it's that time to just be with people, to thank them. It's kind of a more intimate gathering. You've done this big thing, and now it's time to just sort of rest, recoup a little bit, just have that more intimate connection with people. And I know it sounds crazy to think after party, but it's not like a big bash where you're, going around doing the hustle, or if that's even still a dance. Probably not.
You're dating yourself.
How old I am. But, it's that time to sort of reconnect with who God made you to be. What's the other part? I like to say your mom and. What's your and? I'm mom and an author. I can say that now. I couldn't have said it 20 years ago, but that's my and. I'm mom and a nurse, or I'm mom and a whatever, senator.
Well, and didn't your first book, The God Dare, came out of a blog post? Well, your second book, The God Dare, came out of a blog post. And didn't you do a blog post that said motherhood, the after party?
Yeah.
And it was like,
because it had been in me for a while to think so many women do get stuck. And I thought by that time I had written a book, and I thought, wow, there's a whole other lane God is taking me down. This was nothing I expected, but I've been obedient. And now this whole thing has opened up for me. So I thought, this is like an after party. After parties can be kind of fun too, because you're jumping into that new thing, depending what God's asking you to do. I mean, there's some people listening that God may be saying, I want you to be a missionary in a foreign country. So you better make sure that, your life could be on the line. There's a lot of scary things God can ask us to do, but are we willing? Are we willing to lay down our life for the kingdom? So, that gets a little heavy, but you just don't know what God's going to ask you to do. Mentor. Find a younger woman you can mentor that will to pour into her. Women are crying out for that. And I find my generation, the boomers, we've really dropped the ball. We're not the tightest two women God has called us to be. We're not working with the younger women. We're not teaching them how to keep a nice home, all the things that are in Titus 2. And it's a real shame because a lot of women are walking around without a clue what to do in this crazy world, raising kids and all of that.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah. And, back on I hate to be focusing on snacks, but it's getting closer to dinner time. But one of the things I've been able to do with more time is I learned to bake bread. So, I lost a bunch of weight when we had COVID. And I said, I got to get that weight back. So I learned to make this crusty Italian peasant bread slathered with the Irish butter and put all the weight back on. But and that's always been a passion. I didn't have a lot of time to do that. So in our small group every Tuesday night, even when we were not eating carbs, I would dutifully bake my bread. I think some of our group only comes for the bread.
I'm sure.
But it's really good. It's really good.
Yeah, it's crazy.
But things like that can come back to the surface.
Yeah, old
during the
hobbies,
season.
that stuff you laid down before you had kids, you can pick up. Because the best thing about the empty nest is you have freedom. You have freedom to explore that stuff. You have freedom to, go out to lunch with friends, go to the mall, get a facial, all those different things that you can now do. Freedom to just explore whatever that is God has. And you have more money too, which is not typically. We took our granddaughters to children to Chick-fil-A recently, and it was $100 for 6 kids. I thought, oh my word, if you don't have that anymore, well, maybe you and your husband can go out to dinner. It's just it's crazy what kids cost. So all of a sudden, well, although you may still be paying for college, so it may balance out, but there's so many advantages to finally having that time. You've done your part. You were mom. You're still always mom, but you're not only mom. I
love that. And when I think of after party in the context of an after party, like after a show closes, a production closes, I think how it's kind of bittersweet. You're sad that production ended. I'm going to get a little emotional here.
Yeah.
But you are also like, okay, what's next?
What's next?
What am I going to do next?
Right.
So it's kind of that perfect melding of the emotions that I imagine come with.
Yeah. There's at after parties, there's hugs, there's tears, there's congratulations. We've done something. We put something on its feet. That's marvelous. And then the question is, so what are you going to do now? What's your next project? And we're launching our kids into their next portion of their life, their next project. And there's tears and there's hugs.
Yeah. Because the after party, then that's over. That show, whatever that was, is done. So what's the next show? What's your next audition? Whatever. Yeah. But it's the same thing with moms. What's that next thing?
Show posters behind us. I don't know if your audience is going to see it, but those that evokes memories. And I look at these show posters that we're in, and I can remember the after parties and the snacks too as well.
Okay, so you mentioned date nights as one way to prioritize your marriage and keep building that even before, the kids have left. Can you give us one or two other practical things that couples can do just to prioritize each other so that they don't find themselves contemplating a gray divorce?
Yeah, there have to be some things you do, like hobbies, something like that you can do together. There's got to be sports, maybe. Around here, man, pickleball is the thing. I don't know if that's around.
It is here too, yes.
It's noisy and it's crazy, but there's a lot of couples that do that, or they play golf, or what are some other things that, it's just something to do together. Go take a class and learn a different type of cuisine. Make pizza together. There's so many things that you can do to strengthen and stay together.
And it can be just as simple as Kate and I love to take our little golf cart up the street here in our neighborhood and watch the sunset. Mm-hmm. And it's almost a social gathering because it's like boats on a lake. So there's 3 or 4 or 5 rafting boats, but these are golf carts, all there just to watch the glory of God, the artist, setting this sun. And we get some of the most beautiful sunsets here in Middle Tennessee.
Yeah, and we just love to do that. It's
something we do.
It doesn't have to be a big thing like we're going to travel the world. I mean, if you've got kids home, just what are those small things you can do? Maybe it's doing a Bible study together. Mm-hmm. Maybe it's simple as that, or just being consistent with going to church every Sunday.
Yeah.
Yeah, those are great. I feel like we could keep talking, but we are winding down here. So can you let listeners know where they can find you and connect with you online and get your book?
Sure. KateBattistelli.com. That's my website. And on all the social media, I'm just Kate Battistelli. So that's easy. And they can get the book at pretty much anywhere, Amazon,
all the booksellers. Yeah. And then Kate offers the intro and the first chapter for free as a downloadable. And you simply text the words after party, one word, no space, after party to 44144. And the system automatically will send that. Yeah. 44144.
A little gift for your listeners.
Yeah. And they get a few other goodies in that little download as well.
That's awesome. Well, I have the book. I have not read it yet, but I am going to. And I'm looking forward to that.
You have a journal coming out.
I have a journal that it's a companion journal coming along with that. Should be out in June. That it goes a little bit deeper. It takes women a little bit deeper, has pages for them to journal and prayers. And I really am excited about it because I think someone that reads the book but still needs a little bit more is still going, okay, I've got to do something personal with the Lord. It's a 31-day devotional, companion devotional journal. Mm-hmm. And that could be, hopefully, I'm hoping that a lot of women that read the book are able to jump into that. I think it will be a real blessing.
Yeah.
That's awesome. Well, thank you again, Mike and Kate, for being on the podcast. We'll have to figure out another topic in the future to talk about.
Absolutely.
And be back again.
We would love it. Thank you for having us.
Yeah.
Really.
What a helpful interview, right?
Absolutely.
I appreciate how they addressed the issue of gray divorce and gave some practical ideas on how to prioritize and invest in our marriages before the nest is empty.
Yeah, you hear about gray divorce, people separating after the kids have left the house because what do they have in common anymore? They spend all their lives, with the kids, and then,
Yeah, and then they're like, who are you? Do I even like you?
I think it's exciting.
Yeah.
Because you and I are going to have more time to spend together, and it's going to be good.
Yeah, and hopefully the kids will come visit.
They better.
Well, we're going to take another break, then we'll return with this week's Us Time Challenge.
At Thrivent, planning your finances is bigger than money. It's a way to support the people, causes, and community you love. Because helping you put your faith into action is at the heart of what we do. Thrivent, where money means more. Connect with us at Thrivent.com.
Have you ever wondered, is the Bible true? For 3 millennia, seekers of all kinds have asked this timeless question. Now best-selling author, entrepreneur, and philanthropist Mark Gerson offers a unique answer through social science. In his groundbreaking new book, Gerson reveals the 21st century social scientists are asking the same questions that the Bible has been answering for centuries. And his conclusion? The Bible is true. Absolutely, comprehensively, and enthusiastically true. Through this monumental work, Gerson connects biblical wisdom with practical modern issues covering topics like how to choose a spouse, building a happy marriage, raising confident children, overcoming adversity and fear, succeeding in business, and much more. And the best part? All author proceeds benefit African Mission Healthcare, a nonprofit Mark co-founded, bringing life-saving care to millions through Christian missionary physicians in Africa. Order your copy today at www.godwasright.com.
For this week's Us Time Challenge, pour into your relationship this week and watch either the sunrise or the sunset together.
That sounds good. And it's not a big investment. For me, it would be a big investment to watch the sunrise together. Because I'd have to crawl out of bed.
It is pretty, though. I am up when the sun comes up.
You do. You're so faithful with that.
Yeah, I don't often see the sun set, though, because I'm inside.
Right. Well,
I should go
we will do that.
Sit on the trampoline and watch it.
We will take – sure. That's a great idea. Yeah, we will do that. We will do the Us Time Challenge.
Good. All right. Well, thanks for joining us on the Team Us podcast. If you haven't already, be sure to sign up for my weekly email newsletter at ashleyslater.com. When you do, you'll get my free ebook, 5 Simple Marriage Tools You Should Know. We're looking forward to next time as we keep talking about how grace, commitment, and cooperation can help couples live the everyday moments of marriage together.
Team Us with Ted and Ashley Slater is a production of Life Audio and Salem Media. If you liked what you heard today, please take a second to rate and review the podcast in your favorite podcast app so that more listeners like you can find the show. For more faith-filled, inspirational podcasts, visit us at lifeaudio.com.
Hello, I'm Adam Comer.
And I'm Ryan Chittister.
And we are the host of Life After Addiction podcast. What we believe is that addiction is not a surprise to God.
That's right. We discuss addiction from a biblical worldview and how true freedom comes through a personal relationship with Jesus Christ.
Absolute freedom from addiction. The secular worldview of once an addict, always an addict is just not true. If you or someone you loved struggles with addiction, subscribe to Life After Addiction at lifeaudio.com.